Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it to. I'm Bushka and Blitz, and I'm back with another dose of love, affection, and generic tanking goodness here on the channel that does it all to everyone at all times. A voice for the people, by the people, of the people, whatever. I'm talking to you today about my favourite Tier 7 mediums. I've made a bit of a habit now of starting off these videos with the tank that I'm not going to pick. And that's the case here once more as we look at the Panther 2. But why is the Panther 2 even in the final? It's because of this bloody amazing gun handling. Have a look at it. You could do a lot worse than go back and have a look at this thing. If you thought it sucked the first time around, like I did many eons ago, you will find that the world has turned full circle and that the Panther 2 is hip again. The reason I'm even looking at the Panther 2 is because penetration is now really important. And the Panther, sorry, not the Panther 2. Why am I calling it the Panther 2? The Panther 1, you idiot, Bushka. Get your head on straight. The Panther 1 has amazing penetration values. I went back and drove the Comet, which this video is going to be about. It's still, in fact, my favourite Tier 7 medium. And the reason I went back and drove the Comet was because I hadn't driven it for a while and I just expected it to be a hands-down winner on this side of things. And it wasn't. I had some real issues with the Comet when I got up-tiered, and it made life very difficult for me trying to kill bigger, heavier tanks like IS-6s, which you're going to see in a wee while. You only have a 148mm pen gun on the Comet. You have a 200mm pen gun on the Panther 1. That's just ludicrous at Tier 7. If you put the calibration on it, you can get it up even higher. And the reason that's important is because in situations where you get up-tiered, you can still do damage using your AP, which means you don't get stuffed using premium ammunition, which will lower your DPM. The thing that gets the Comet across the line is that it has such massive raw DPM, 2,849 running the double food and rammer that many people do like to run. I mean, you know, there you go. That gives you such huge DPM that even when you go to premium, you're only about 180 damage per minute behind the Panther 1, and you get 208mm of pen on your APCR. Now, if I had one tip for anyone who's just starting out the game and is starting to run this thing, pack a heap of APCR, because you are going to come up against whole fields of bloody IS-3s and IS-3 defenders and IS-5s and IS-6s and glacials, and you know, it's just massive the amount of heavy tanks that are currently playing the game, because the whole meta has definitely moved towards a solid heavy meta, and you can see how good the little Comet is. It's still got so many things going for it. I mean, the gun depression is the obvious one. The gun depression on this thing is brilliant, and it remains brilliant. I mean, through thick and thin, there is a huge advantage to be able to get shots off on tanks on the other side of hills. And the Comet's got 12 degrees of gun depression, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's also got a very underrated armor profile. You can see I'm dealing with this Kuro Moro Mini by driving forward, jerking backwards and forwards, getting shots out of him, and then beating him with my amazing rate of fire. I've got 17.81 rounds a minute in this configuration. And that means that I can perma-track anything that moves. 75mm gun at 17.81 rounds a minute is scary stuff. No one wants to have to deal with you. And you've seen on these little dunes with gun depression, I'm able to get shots off time and time again. It's also no slouch in the mobility stakes. You have 715 horsepower engine with a 22-ton horsepower to weight ratio. You know, effect 22.1 horsepower to weight, horsepower to ton ratio. You've also got decent but not amazing ground resistance stats. 1.1 and 1.5. Not crazy, but fairly solid. And your traverse numbers are great. Well, I mean, they're good. They're good enough, you know. They're absolutely good enough. And they're good enough to keep you coming back for more every time. I mean, you've got 56.81 Traverse if you go with the Traverse. And if you go with the engine, you've got 53.80 if you run with those equipment loadouts. The big positive for this tank has always been the crazy damage and the gun depression, and those things haven't gone away. And as a tank, it's been able to maintain that through the patches. And it's that ability to still burn hard with damage per minute numbers and burst damage, even when it's lost the premium penetration values that used to just allow it to go to Premo and run nothing but Premo. I mean, this was like the Heat 54 used to be like this at tier 9, where you just run the T54, you'd run Heat in it, and you'd have amazing damage, you'd have amazing penetration, and you didn't suffer anything because Wargaming had this weird penetration model where Heat stopped doing what it was meant to do, which was not go through spaced armor and tracks and everything, and you could just do max DPM with absolutely no punishment. All those kind of things have come home to roost now. You have to have the right kind of damage type ammunition. You've got to have APCR if you want to go through the sides of tracks easily. I mean, that was bad play on my part. But, you know, oh, that was ugly, watching that one. I don't want to watch that one again. Why did I leave that one in here? Well, there you go. You can see me derping it up. It was the very epitome of that. You could go to APCR and you'd have your 208 millimeters of penetration, and you'd have 10% on your gun rammer, and you'd have full bore adrenaline that you used to have. Like, adrenaline used to go for longer, like, and do more. And this thing would chew stuff up, just chew it up. I remember running into like a Leopard 1 or a Leopard PTA, sorry, in a tier 9 game on Port Bay in this, and it just wrecked it. It got into a really nice spot, was moving backwards and forth. The turret is very, very small, very hard to hit. And you can see what I'm talking about there with that perma-tracking. You just keep hitting their tracks, and you go so quickly that you're able to actually keep them stuck in one place. And the gun handling on the tank is just grand. I mean, it's not amazing. Your .15 number as your coefficient on the move firing isn't incredible, but it's more than adequate. And .308 dispersion after you put on all your bells and whistles. I mean, the Panther one is nuts. It's brilliant at .29, like .29. That's absolutely crackers. But .308 is really good, like really, really good for this tank. For a medium that puts out that much damage, that's crazy good. And your aim time at 2.08 seconds or whatever is really, really good as well. And if you're running vertical stabilizer, that'll bring that right down as well. You could even run enhanced gun lane drive if you wanted to, which would add to it again. But for me, I went with supercharge for the shell velocity. Your shell velocity is a little low. The Panther one has crazy shell velocity, like 0.29 dispersion and 945 meters per second shell velocity, which is, it's like shooting a laser at tier 7, but still, it's very, very hard to fault the Comet for the gun. And the armor is actually way more trollish than you'd expect. It gets a lot of bounces. The little turret with the very flat part and all the little ridges on it, it makes for a difficult target that's hull down, doesn't show much of itself, and really gets the job done. And you can see the gun works wonders. It's gorgeous. It's, in the end, it was an easier pick than I expected. The Panther made it hard for me, and which was a surprise. And there was a bunch of other mediums at tier 7 as well that I thought were interesting. Most notably among those is the good old T6 Dracula, which is just crazy mobile. But this is still the one for me. It's always been my sweetheart tank. It was the tank that really, really carried me through when I started playing a lot of games in blue numbers. This was the one you could always go back to and rely on for that, you know, that good performance. It's that nice blend of absolute nuts out DPM and mobility and gun depression. And I've always been a fan of it. I've always been a big fan of mobility and gun depression. they're the reason certain tanks are able to make a living when you really wouldn't expect. I'm running too much APCR here. This is my old loadout, and I just started driving it again post 3.8, and I ran out of AP in this game. Just ran out of AP. So what I did for the next game was I got rid of all the APCR, or a large portion of it, and ran more AP. And gee, I wish I had kept this loadout. It really would have been a lot better for me. Let's go to the next game. I want to show you this one particularly because it really speaks to what I was talking about before. Another tier 8 game, and you can see up the top there are 2 tier 8 heavy tanks. The IS-6 is there. Now, that's tough straight away because I've got 18 rounds of APCR, but there's also a Churchill there that's going to be tough to get through. There's an IS, which is pretty straightforward if I can get him on the side. And the SU-122S, which can be a bit tougher too if he's angled up. So, this is a good test for this tank. Look at the dress blues, by the way. How can you not love the dress blues? This is my account I'm playing as Bushka. That's why I've got all these blue camos and things on it, because I much prefer my own account. I love this camo. If I'm not driving a Chinese tank like the 62 Dragon, which the Chinese have the best camo in the game, then I love being into this one. And you can see we're corner fighting at the moment. That KV13 is right there in amongst it. The 54 lightweight, who I spotted earlier and then just baited for a bit while everyone else punched at him. And we are moving up on the corner. This SU-152 does really, really good here. Really, really well. He gets very, very aggressive and he pushes right up hard. We just come around here from the other side because the basic... I mean, this is where the rub is. We've pushed, we've done the right thing, we've gone all around, we're getting shots in because it's a tough little tank, and you can see just how tough it is through the course of this battle. But wow, we're in again. Look at the black prints, the IS, the 2 IS-6s, they're both down there, and that's tough because they are not the easiest tanks to get rid of. And I'm going to have to use APCR, even though I don't want to. I get a great side shot on Kevin Shee 1236, which was very, very lucky. Ouija loses his mind. Just goes mad into it. He was feeling his oats and he runs straight in the middle of 3 heavy tanks. And now I'm in a really tough position. That IS-6 pushes. Now, this might seem a little bit weird, what I do here. It's a pretty straightforward thought process. I want to get on the other side of this IS-6 because the 152 is nearly dead, right? I want the 156 to not be able to just angle up to one side at a time. And if he moves on me, he's going to have to deal with the 152 at the back. So it might have looked a bit odd to just go straight across there to the other side, but that was the whole point. So now we're 2 on 3. We're a good chance, and I'm blowing APCR because it's just so hard to pen this guy without it. It's just absolutely torture. Both these tanks actually have fairly solid armor profiles. Even with APCR, you can see I get just past his gun and I'm around, and I'm now into the Black Prince. Take the time to put one into his back heel. He is wrecking that 54 Mod 1, which is a bit rough. I mean, I thought the Mod 1 really would handle him and we'd take a hard one there, and we're back past again because we've got to get this Black Prince out of the game. There we go. And there's the IS-6, and it's just too tight. The confines there. I don't want to take the IS-6 on, but I'm down to 4 APCR. I'm down to 4 premium ammunition rounds, which is tough because, honest to God, that's hitting with every single shot and not taking any damage back. I should have probably pushed on him right there and just had at it and try to out DPM him, but what I wanted to do was get him in the open where I could sneak up and rush him, because I just don't have the pen. I don't have the pen. If he gets angled at all, he's so hard for me to penetrate. And this is where you struggle in these tier 7 tanks now. Tier 8 is just full of tanks like that IS-6. Absolutely full to the brim of tanks like that IS-6. And their numbers are... Now, he's doing exactly what I was hoping for. He's gone into the cap. I'm hoping to get a side shot here And I do, and I just muff it. There we go. And I should have just waited for the reticle to go down, but I thought, you know, gun handling. We get a bounce, so swings and roundabouts. We're still in it. I may well have just been better off pushing into this guy earlier. But he does the right thing. He goes to the cap, draws me in. I'm going to go around here and get some driving in shots and get stuck in. And I would suggest that this guy is running the Traverse buff on his equipment. I reckon this IS-6 is buffed because I just can't get around him. And I really can't get around him. And his mobility is just excellent. And he's not coming out of that cap. He's not coming out of that cap. And I've got 3 rounds now. 3 APCR rounds. I mean, even if all 3 of them hit, that is not enough to kill him. You getting me? It's just not enough to kill him. I don't have any choice. I got to go and have a crack. So off we go. We're going to eat one. There's one into the lower glacis. 2 into the side. 3 into the side. And that's all she wrote. And now I'm absolutely wrecked. Because that's just not going in. It's not going in. Just won't go in. Won't go in. No chance. Just not enough penetration. Can't do anything. Dead. And that's the problem. Load a heap of APCR. Anyway, that's the Comet, guys. My favourite Tier 7 medium. I'm Bushka on Blitz. Thanks very much for watching. Until next time, look after yourselves and stay safe on the battlefield.